In July of 2020, after many years of powerlifting and military fitness and just being an overall machine, summiting mountains, going up Kilimanjaro, I decided to pursue an aesthetic body. As you can probably imagine, I mean, look at me, fucking hell. This guy needed to put on a good amount of muscle mass. And in doing so, in the time between now and then, obviously when you're watching this video as of 2024, I've been through some very painful lessons along the way, and stupid lessons, and one that, honestly, I wish I could just sit that guy down and be like, listen, motherfucker, these are 5 of the longest levers. If you pull these, they're going to have the greatest impact on your physique. So I would have been able to speed up the process a hell of a lot quicker. Now, just for context, the photos you can see next to it are recent ones. About that one on the right was just yesterday in the gym after arms and delts, and we're into the gaining phase now. So gaining phase up actually, we started around 75, now set at 83. Well, also getting a little bit softer towards the bottom, I will definitely admit. And this was a mirror shot. As you can see, my mirror needs a fucking clean. That was taken of the back shot. I thought it was quite a nice photo, and I'd put that on for you. But anyway, in today's video, that's what we're going to cover. 5 things I wish I knew when I started lifting, that if I did, they would have sped up the progress. Why should you listen to me? Well, straight away, obviously, this is how I used to look in 2020, and now we've got like significantly more muscle. And also, I help up this is my thing that I help other people with. So I run the Gorilla Platoon. So this is a physique transformation program in the art of body recomposition, where we help guys drop body fat if it's needed, and also build muscle tissue. And this is the level of results we get. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Tom Sergey, and that is what we are all about here on this channel. So my promise to you is that by the end of this video, you will know the 5 lessons that carry the most weight when trying to build muscle. Pun intended, if that's the right thing to say. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe right now. The count has been going up recently. Very much love support for the comments and the subscribe rate that's been going through. So please be part of it if you want to join the channel and you get good education. Do you know what? If you don't get good education from this video, then don't subscribe, because that's absolutely fair. If you do, then subscribe, and that'd be nice. So let's roll straight in. So the first thing that we need to fix is, when they said focus on technique, this is what they meant. Because you've heard that all the time. People are like, oh, just focus on technique. Technique this, technique that. But then when I know, this is what I think of when people say, oh, just focus on technique. You think of this like pussy lifter that's trying to like back squat, and he's got like 5s on the bar, and he's like going down to like the perfect point and just keeping everything bolt right, rigid and straight. And you just think like, scientist pussy, like, but that's not what it's meant by technique. It's really not. And now I understand what they meant when they said proper technique. But honestly, that term is fucking thrown around so freely, and people don't have the context and the depth to say what is good technique. So that's what we're going to cover, because you absolutely do need good technique, but I'm going to put it hopefully in a different way that you've not heard before. The first point of good technique is having accuracy. If you're trying to train your pecs and you're doing a movement for your pecs, make sure your pecs are doing the work, for goodness sake. Let's say you're doing a flat dumbbell chest press, where the main aim is to work the pecs. Not the shoulders, not really the tricep, although it's a secondary muscle group, the pecs. How do you do that? Well, you need to live with accuracy. How do we understand accuracy? Understand where the muscle starts and where it finishes. For the pecs, it will start on the sternum, run across, and insert onto your upper arm. So you know, to train with accuracy, you need to stretch and shorten the muscle, but you're going to put load in the middle to add stimulus and make it grow. So then you need to think of the arm path. You need to think, well, where would best serve my arm to hit my pecs? Would it be up here and then I drive here, or is that actually just trashing my shoulder? Or what about if I brought it down at a 45 and then went through the movement? Yeah, nice. Now that actually does the job. And you need to think about shortening the origin and the insertion. So when you're doing a chest press, don't think about pressing the load up and down from your hands, because naturally your shoulders will end up doing a lot of the work. I want you to imagine everything from above your arm, your elbow, up to your hand is kind of been cut off. Because let's think, it doesn't serve you to think about anything above here. This will move automatically anyway. So if you think, right, the chest starts here, inserts onto my upper arm, what do I need to do? I need to converge my upper arm towards the center of my body. Now, if you just think about bringing your biceps together, your hands are going to follow, the load's going to follow. That's how you train with accuracy. When we say train with control, what that really means is train with proper tempo. That's the speed in which you perform the reps. If you want to be accurate, you can't always be fast. Don't get me wrong. Boxers, accurate, fast, fine. But in the essence of growing tissue, your ability to be accurate will come from your ability to control it. Picture now, we're in a rugby team, football team, whatever your sport. We're in the tunnel, we're going to run out, and there's loads of fans, as there would be, just outside the tunnel, with their hands out, they want like high fives. Let's picture now, we run out as fast as we can, we try and high five as many people. What's going to happen? You're going to go like, miss, thumb clap, finger clap, bottom of the hand, good connection, miss, thumb clap, miss, boom, boom, boom. Okay? You might get 2 good hand connections with people. If you walk out or jog very slowly, you're going to be able to go with every fan, okay? Think of contracting the muscle exactly like that. If you try and lift like a sewing machine, you're not going to be able to stretch and shorten the load with accuracy or control. You're going to miss, essentially. And that's what people do, especially when they're doing like biceps. Their biceps work just a tiny amount, and they'll lean back and they'll then lift their elbow forward so their shoulder moves. All you really needed to do was flex from the elbow and the bicep would have got worked. But people don't like to train with that accuracy. So if we slow it down, we're going to be more likely to execute with accuracy. When I say slow it down, just as a rule of thumb, like obviously each exercise needs a slightly different tempo. Generally depends on where the muscle's hardest or at which point you are weakest. But as a rule of thumb, spend 3 seconds coming from the top to the bottom of every movement, spend 1 second in that pause position, and spend 1 to 2 seconds driving that weight back up. And as a rule of thumb, you will be absolutely fine when it comes to your control. So accuracy is the ability to train the muscle that you want to grow, stretch and shorten it from the origin of the insertion point. Control is to be able to control it through the time under tension. And then the arm path, also add in with that range of motion, distance traveled. The further you can take the muscle through a lengthened contraction, you're going to make more gains. Remember, a lot of gains are made through eccentric loading and the isometric pause at the bottom. Think of a dumbbell chest press. It's not hard at the top when your joints are stacked on top of each other, are they? Obviously, you're still having to work to hold it there, but where is it significantly harder? Right at the bottom, when your joints are furthest away and your muscle has to hold them in place. So actually, on a lot of exercises, it's harder at the bottom. So the eccentric phase is almost like the concentric phase, if you want to look at it like that, because you're having to stretch, pull apart the muscle, pause for a second where it's hardest, and then shorten that muscle, driving it back together. You want to think of the correct arm path for each movement. Obviously, there'll be a leg path for each leg movement, but think of it like that. Think, is my arm in the right position? If I want to do a lat pull down, should I pull with a grip that has my arm out here and I can only get to here? Or should I find a handle that's like probably my shoulder width, and now I can drive my elbow all the way into my hip and fully shorten that muscle? You'll know if you've got the right arm path because you'll fully be able to lengthen and shorten the muscle, and you won't feel pain in the joint. The reason people's shoulders are fucked is because they'll press like this, and it's the equivalent of getting those hoovers that are on the ball and sockets, turning it all the way one way, and then trying to drive the fucking hoover up and down. Like, eventually it's going to wear and tear and buckle because it's just not. You're grinding it against the edge of the housing. That's what most people are doing when they're training. And then stack on top of that ego lifting, and fuck me, you cause people are going to get injured with fuck shoulders. So dialing it back in, when we say technique, don't live like a little bitch. That's not a green light to live like a little bitch. A little autist, like fully, like, you know, is just bolt rigid with everything. No. Just because if you do that, intensity will fall. Without intensity, you're not going to grow any tissue anyway. But do train with accuracy, with control, and with the correct arm path. And honestly, you will see some very juicy gains off the back of that. So that's point number 1. Number 2, just turning up to the gym is not enough. There's a cute saying where people say, the hardest part of your workout is putting on your trainers and going. I said, shut the fuck up. No, it really isn't. Because if you keep doing that, you will train, you'll get there, but this is what you're not doing. You're never really breaking out of homeostasis. Homeostasis is the line in which you're sat at your comfort zone. Now, you may go up here, but are you really out of your comfort zone? Are you really making the body do something it's never done before? No. So then has it really got any reason to change and do hard things? Probably not. So then why would it? So then you're still going to spend time in the gym, going, spinning your wheels, doing this, and you're just going to get discouraged. You're just going to get discouraged because you're like, oh, it takes so long to make gains. And it does. If you're not training properly, it does take a while to make gains. So just turning up is not enough. So to add on from point one, add this to it as well, train really hard. In the sense that, and as a rule of thumb, just beat what you did last time. Whether it was reps, whether it was sets, whether it was load, just beat whatever you did last time. Every time you go in the gym and you are making progress, you are training with intensity. Train to failure. Put all of those points from the first slide and then make sure you add that intensity to it. Don't just buckle everything from point one because you needed to push that last rep out. You could still, and let's be honest, if you really wanted to, you could still keep the form solid and just continue to drive through that last rep, and you'll fail where you fail. But again, that's the beauty of having like a good spotter. Or if you don't get the rep out, you don't get the rep out. Maybe next time you will. But just turning up will not get you a good physique. 100% it will not get you a good physique, because you can train okay, hard-ish, for a long period of time, but honestly, it just doesn't give you the same return. Like, you actively have to just go in and do something you've not done before. Each session should be quite uncomfortable. The analogy I'm trying to think of is like, picture it like this. You've got two mountains. One is 3,000 meters, the other's 4. You always do the 3,000 meter one, because to go to that 4 it's generally uncomfortable. That's where like breathing starts to get hard, and like you get a little bit of a headache and a little bit of altitude sickness, so you just never really want to go up there. So you keep doing the 3, you keep doing the 3, but if you just did the 4, you get so much more out of yourself, mindset, body, training at a little bit higher altitude. The ROI would be so much more significant. It's almost like, let's say the bar to make gains is here, and you train to here like for years consistently, so you're doing really good stuff, like you're only this far away. Motherfuckers are like down here, okay, but you keep training to here, but this is actually the bar to get the physique you wanted to. So if you could just train that little bit harder, which, let's be honest, you probably could, you would break past that point just for grinding that extra rep out, putting that extra little bit of load on that set. You would then get to where you really wanted to. So honestly, just fucking train hard in the gym. It's easy for me to sit here and say train hard, but if you really do apply this along with step 1, your physique will blow up 100%. It has no reason not to. You put direct tension on the working muscle, you've been accurate, you've not rushed it, you've lifted it with control, the arm path is in a great position, and then you've toasted the muscle every time you've trained. It has no choice but to grow, providing the next steps are actually in place as well. So all of these link in to each other conveniently enough. Okay, number 3, one size does not fit all. Which means just whenever you're taking advice on fitness, even from me, you can always like take it either with a pinch of salt or question it from the sense that like what I'm saying to you may not be the most direct bit of information that you would need right now for your physique. Because let's remember, like, people get personal trainers because it's personal training. Everybody's physique is completely different. So like, if like all of you watching now sent me a picture of your physique and your scale weight, you may all weigh similar amounts, but like all of you would need a slightly different setup. Even when it comes to food, not all foods will digest the same for all of you, and like some will prefer others, and some that you just really would not work well with that. Others actually need slightly different training programs because you don't all have the same weak areas. Let's say everyone needs a T-bar row because most people's upper back just not that strong. But as a rule of thumb, you all need, in fact that's the wrong term to use, but like you all need slightly different setups. So one size does not fit all. Some of you that need to go into a building phase. Some of you need to do a recomp. Some of you need to do a full-blown fat loss phase. So don't just take one size and then just put it to everything that you are trying to do, okay? One size doesn't fit all. It's specific to you and your setup, and it's important that you can understand how much body fat you're carrying. Again, I've done plenty of videos on that. Where your current scale weight is, what your goal is, and then how you personally are going to get there with the increments that's needed to do so. So just don't fall into that trap. Maybe this point doesn't carry as much weight as the others, but I actually think it's important to be said. point number 4. People who focus on calorie surplus have the wrong mindset. Is calorie surplus important? Absolutely. But when you're in a gaining phase, in a bulking phase, people will make calorie surplus the number 1 priority. And let me tell you, calorie surplus doesn't build muscle. It aids and assists in building muscle, but the only way you can build the muscle is by doing point 1 and 2. Muscle is built in the gym. Shit bust. The calorie surplus, just like creatine, just like sleep, is an assisting tool in order for you to lift more in the gym. The calorie surplus is that extra food and energy so you can send it and get that fucking extra rep out. That if you didn't have that extra food, as you went from the bottom up, you'd stick there and that'd be you done. But because of the extra food, in this very specific analogy, you're able to just grind through with that little bit more grit and determination, and you get the rep out, and that is what made the damage to the tissue. That's what got you the extra gain. That's what got you a little bit bigger. Calorie surplus. When people say I'm bulking, what they tend to do is they only focus on the surplus, and then they actually don't train that hard. Because they're like, oh, I need to be in a surplus, Yeah, a big surplus, and more surplus, more muscle. No. If you're not training hard enough, you're going to get fat. That's the bottom line up front. You're going to put on body fat anyway, but if you're in a big surplus and you're not training like an absolute animal, you will put on a lot of body fat. You will just get fat. The surplus does not build the muscle. I know this because I've fallen foul to it. That's how I know it's bad. I'm not telling you not to be in a big surplus. I'm telling you something I did wrong. Don't do it. Okay? So be cautious with your surplus. Your surplus is there to serve you, so realistically, how much extra food you actually need to get that extra bit of performance out. And measure it off performance. If performance starts to plateau, you need a bit more food. If the scale weight's plateaued for a good week, you need a bit more food. But off the back of that food, we should see result in the gym. We should see the numbers increase. We should see you get stronger. We should then in turn see the scale weight go up. But this is why you don't always get married to the scale weight. Don't get me wrong, it's another data point. We want as many data points as possible so that we can make calculated decisions driven from data. But if you just focus on the scale weight, you can bulk your way up the scale weight. No problem. I've done it. I've fucking done it, and it doesn't yield the best results over the long term. So just be cautious of your surplus. Your surplus is a tool. Is it important? Yes. Do you need it? Yes. Is it number 1? No. It's number 2 to training. And let's say you've got training, sleep, and food that come hand on, because you can't eat your way there, you can't sleep your way there. You have to do the training. These two supplement the training. Always remember that. And then we are going to mention the sleep in the last one. So number 5 is late nights, date nights, and party nights are fun, but you grow when you're sleeping. Okay? So I'm a human being. You're a human being. I like to go on dates. I'm sure you do too. I'm sure you like to socialise at parties, because I do too. So as a rule of thumb, just always make sure you do 6 nights of full-blown, all-out sleep, and you can have 1 night a week. Then it's not the best. If you can do 7 nights, even better. If it ends up being 2 nights out of the month, brilliant. That's 28 days of great sleep, 2 days of pretty poor sleep, but over the long term, that's not going to affect you. But idle late nights in the middle of the week because you were watching some bullshit and you didn't want to turn it off and go to bed, you can do better than that. You are better than that. Let's be honest. Now, in this gaining phase, I'm taking the piss with my sleep. I'm going to bed. I'm not setting an alarm. I'm forcing myself to stay in bed as long as possible to grow. So when I wake up, I can feel the muscle. It feels tight. It feels repaired. It feels nice. Okay, because I've done it before where I had 5 hours sleep and I've almost woken up as it's mid-growth and it feels flat, skinny, almost like I've stopped it from repairing midway through the night. I've done a previous video on why sleep is important, or why not sleeping will affect gains in terms of if you just don't sleep that much, duration and the quality is not that good, you will put on body fat and lose muscle tissue. So you want to try and do the absolute opposite, sleep with good duration and deep sleep quality. Some of the dreams, I don't know if, maybe you can put in the comments below, I've not researched this, do deep dreams correlate to good deep sleep? Not sure, but I've been having some real deep mad dreams recently. Very, very crazy. Now, how can you make your sleep better? As a rule of thumb, I go off two metrics. The temperature of the room and the brightness of the room. Make them dark, make them as cold as you like. Now, motherfuckers will tell me to put the aircon down to like 19, so it's like an igloo in there. I don't really like that, to tell you the truth. Like, I'm happy with like it on like 26, 27, because otherwise I'll wake up in the night where my arm's been out the bed and I'll be cold. I'll be really cold and I'll wake up, so then it's disrupted me. So I find if I set it to a certain temperature, the darkness of the room, I can get away with like pretty light rooms anyway, but I have put some like good solid blinds in to keep that. So just make sure you're doing the basics. People will tell you not to go on your phone before bed. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but just make sure you don't have the blue light setting on your iPhone. You can set to like orange light. Just do that, obviously, because you know why wouldn't you? If you want to go on your phone, fine, but just at least like set it up the best you can. And then magnesium. If I take magnesium, again, sleep like an absolute baby. I'm not telling you to take magnesium. I'm just telling you what I do, and it works quite nicely for me. So research that if you are struggling for deep sleep. But they are the 5 things that I would do. So most importantly, let's say you assess your body composition, you make objective decisions on where you need to take it. If there's body fat to pull off, you recon. If there's not and you're ready for a gaining phase, you go into that gaining phase. You use the food to support the gaining phase. The food is going to support the accuracy, the control, and the arm path. Then you're going to layer that with a fuckload of intensity to actually get the growth. And then at the end of the night, you're going to sleep like an absolute baby to repair everything. And you're going to rinse and repeat that for as long as humanly possible. And this is why we say recon first, because you want the window of the gaining phase to be as long as it possibly could be. You start at 15% body fat, are you really giving yourself the best chance to gain over the long term? Probably not. Should you go down to 10? So then you've got at least a 10% window before you'd have to cut back down? I would say so. So there are my 5 points. If you found them useful, subscribe. If you want to work directly with me, there'll be links in the description, and I will change your fucking life and change your physique, just like we did for the rest of the Gorilla Platoon. So thank you for listening again, and I will see you tomorrow.